blade, as if a ghost had stood held strong against my hand. When 6 to midnight in the phony hands of death, now you better drink your drink and shut your mouth. If you draw against his head, you can never win. Go ahead, drink with the living dead.
This is the Pantheon. I would like to proudly welcome this wonderful gentleman. We formed in 1998 in Dallas, Texas, a successful catalog of 9 albums, 2 DVDs, and featured on Elvira's movie Macabre, appeared in several soundtracks. Sound is described as a cache with the horrific sounds of Rob Zombie. Wrote several amazing books beyond Boggy Creek and the Lizard Man. Please welcome Mr. Lyle Blackburn from Ghoultown. Welcome to the Pantheon, my brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, man. So, what was it like having your song "Mistress of the Dark" with Elvira? What was it like working with her?
Oh man, I mean, one of the coolest things ever. I mean, you can imagine, like, I've been a fan, since I can remember, and we were at a horror convention called Texas Frightmare Weekend, and we performed at, like, the VIP party, which, had some celebrity guests and others that could pay to come to the party. And Elvira wasn't there, but her manager was, and he saw us, and we're actually doing kind of an acoustic set because, it's a party, not a full-blown gig, so we've done an acoustic set, and he was impressed. So the next day I was down there at our table, and all of a sudden some guy's like, "Hey man, Elvira wants to meet you." I'm like, "Well, okay." I'm thinking that's kind of the reverse, because it's usually me waiting in line to see some celebrity guest that I've grown up to admire. So, but she did come over and talked to us a minute and said, "Manager's seen you," and was super impressed. And this is kind of what she was kind of getting back into doing, a lot of the horror cons and just kind of branding herself, a decade ago or so. And so the talks just kind of went from there, and we talked about, well, we should do a song, and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I could easily do that. I'm a fan, so I can write that song. And so we did, and they loved the song, and then we decided to go out to Hollywood, to a well-known place called the Magic Castle to shoot the video with director Grizz Grimley, which is a kind of a horror artist and director into himself. And so that's how it progressed. And I mean, just being there working with her, she's super cool. And I mean, just there in the trenches with us to make it a cool video. And yeah, just a mind-blowing experience. And we've been friends ever since.
That is cool, man. So I also noticed that on Google, I was looking up some pictures for you guys, and I noticed that you met Sid Haig, the late great Captain Spaulding. What was that like?
Well, again, it's super cool to meet these my whole icons in real life. And one of the cool things about Ghoultown is, having kind of a horror element or stuff like that. We've been able to play various horror conventions, or even kind of the bigger sci-fi things like Dragon Con in Atlanta. So that kind of put us there with some of these guests. And of course, we were dressed in black. We looked all dark cowboy. And a lot of times the guests would just kind of look at us and like, almost like, "Hey, come here. What is this?" They would ask questions. So, I think it was Dragon Con. Bill Moseley and Sid Haig were there, and I've been a fan of movies like Spider Baby,
Calgary.
Yeah, and a super nice guy. He's one of the best. Just ready to talk, and so yeah, we got to talk to him and take a photo, and it's like, man, this couldn't be any cooler.
So awesome, man. Like what? So you've been on some movie soundtracks. What soundtracks have you contributed to?
Let me think. We did a cameo on some soundtrack songs for a movie called American Nightmare a long time ago. That was when we were first together. And let's see, there was one called The Bone Boys, which our song is featured over the ending credits. Those guys had worked with Kim Hinkle of Texas Chainsaw Massacre fame, and they're Texas-based, so, just some guys we knew. What else? We've done some weird, like, Showtime Skinamax vampire movies or something, just a few weird things, where either the directors are family or band or whatever. So, it's always been horror soundtracks or, independent films, really. We've never been in a major blockbuster or anything.
I'm going to have to check these out. I love and I live for the classic film soundtrack. It's something you don't see very much these days.
Yeah, I know. I wish, there was more of that. I mean, I think back to movies like Return of the Living Dead or something where the soundtrack is...
I have that on.
Yeah. I mean, I wish there was cases like that where they just had this kind of eclectic blend of songs, some that are used for like 1 second in the movie, but they're on the soundtrack and you can do the vinyl. And not as much of that today as say back then when we had those soundtracks.
Remember the classic movie Trick or Treat, Fastway? That's still I hold that soundtrack very dear to my heart.
Yeah, it's a little one.
Or Shocker. That was a hell of a soundtrack. Alice Cooper, Megadeth, Iggy Pop. I mean, holy shit! Where else can you get a great bunch of names in one place? So let's getting on to talking about your music. We've got like your albums, Life After Sundown. I heard the songs "Drink with the Living Dead," "Love It," "Under the Phantom Moon," and your 2017 album, "Ghost of a Southern Sun." And the song "Southern Sun," great stuff. So, are we getting any closer to a brand new release? Or tell us about the band's album making process.
Yeah, we actually are working on a new one. All the songs have been written, so we're just kind of working those up as a band. Usually, the songwriting process is I write almost all of the material, both the lyrics and the music. So it's kind of driven that way. And then once I take it to the band, and they add in their magic to it, and we work it up in that format. It's early on we recorded albums a little quicker. It still was like about 2 years between albums, and then it became a stretch because once I took a break and wrote a book, and then suddenly did some TV shows and other things, which was kind of successful, then I kind of had to juggle both. So the length between albums has been much longer, but Life After Sundown came out in 2007, and then we did The Mistress of the Dark and some EP stuff, and it wasn't until 2017 that Ghost of the Southern Sun came out, so that was a decade, but then now we're just in a position to record faster, so hopefully the new one will be out late next spring is the tentative release on that.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. So what's your favorite line in one of your songs? I could think of a few, but I want to hear what you think.
Oh, man. I don't know. There's tons of it, and being a writer as well, the lyrics are something that like Dead Outlaw Gunslinger stomping through the streets. My neighbors all think I'm a beat-eyed freak. That's just what I'll be. The words are very important to me, and kind of build the visuals that go along with.
You're a storyteller, right? What you do is very theatrical, and that's why I look at what I do and what I think of it when it comes to music and filmmaking. That this is where it's at. Yeah,
and our most popular song is "Drink with the Living Dead," which is a very unlikely sort of hit single, if you will, because it's 6.5 minutes long. It's this long ass story about this undead gunfighter that goes in and challenges guys to a drinking contest, and if the guy can win the contest, then the gunslinger can go and rest in his grave. If he doesn't, then he has to have a gunfight or duel with this already dead gunslinger, which you're not going to win. So we almost didn't put that on the album because it's so long and it's cool and everything, but it's all about the story. But lo and behold, luckily we did, because that song has sort of been, when everybody goes, "Oh, dude, I love your band Ghoultown. I love that song." Almost always they say "Drink with the Living Dead" first. So yeah, it's something, and of course the Johnny Cash thing plays in there because he had some kind of story type songs, and that's kind of that old Ghost Riders in the Sky vibe, where which is really where I got the idea. Yeah.
That is the good stuff. So getting on to the writing aspect of your career, you've done some great books here, The Lizard Man, and talking about monsters like the Yeti, the Sasquatch. I heard one of your earlier interviews. Very, very interesting stuff. And I was checking out that video, the Caddo Lake. Who filmed that?
That was filmed by me. Just
the swamp lands are really like that in Dallas?
Well, that's out in East Texas. We're almost into Caddo Lake spans the border of eastern Texas into Louisiana, where, Louisiana, you do think of swamps. So east portion of Texas is really heavily forest with pine forests and hardwood habitat, and then it kind of gets swampy, which most people don't think of as part of Texas. But a lot of my books, and where I sort of latched onto that, was that I've always been interested in, love horror and love horror movies and monsters, and but I was always kind of freaked out by stuff like Bigfoot and things that might be real. And there was an old movie called The Legend of Boggy Creek, which dramatized sightings of a Sasquatch-like creature in southern Arkansas, just a little bit of north where I live in Texas. And this thing was like trying to grab people out of houses and seemed much more frightening. So I ended up looking into that case, which is based on true stories, and writing a book on it. And that's what kind of put me in the book writing thing. And so ever since then, I kind of look at these cases mostly in the South, because like Lizard Man was from South Carolina, like sort of a creature from the Black Lagoon in modern times, of people reporting this reptilian creature. And so I've written 5 books so far, and those people responded well to those. So for a day job, side job type thing outside the music, you can't beat that. So I do go to the places where people say they see them. So that's what took me to Caddo Lake, and I just had a camera and filmed it.
That's the kind of thing you almost want to get somebody dressed as Swamp Thing and just throw them in there.
Yeah.
Seeing that, I think, man, I that new Swamp Thing show that it only had 10 episodes in one season. I'm wondering, what swampland did they film in?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that yet, and I'm not sure where they filmed that. But it would be interesting to know.
I highly recommend it. It's right up your alley, man. This is the first time that a DC comic book character was thrown into the horror realm.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm a fan of Swamp Thing, so certainly it's on the list to check out when I get the time.
So what's the craziest thing you've ever seen, brother?
Well, having toured around the world in a rock band format, seeing a lot of crazy stuff in that regard, and then being out in the woods, investigating some of these real life monster cases, seeing some pretty spooky stuff. All that, it's crazy, but in a spooky way. I was in sort of a remote, wooded area in Arkansas once, and it was me and another guy, and we were hiking. It was probably after midnight. The moon is out. It's spooky. We're in a place. We kind of gone on some property we shouldn't have been on, so that was kind of made us nervous a little bit. But I'm not scared of the woods or anything. I grew up hunting. But all of a sudden, for whatever reason, my buddy turned on his flashlight, looks down, and he looks at this, what appears to be this footprint that's big, it's sort of man-like, and it has at least 3 toes. You can see the toe imprints. And at that moment, I'm sort of rethinking all this, like, holy shit. If something out here, which it looked pretty fresh, it was kind of in the mud, and it was scary at that point to kind of think, if there was some big ass thing out here, they could just take us out. I mean, it would be the apex predator, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and at that moment, you just felt kind of alone out there, thinking, "What the hell are we doing?"
Bill Paxton,
just
game over, man, game over.
Yeah, you kind of romanticize these Bigfoot things and all that, but when you're out there and you're in a place, nobody knows where you're at, you're in the middle of the woods, it's dark, the moon's out, suddenly shit gets real, and, that's some of the weirdest stuff. I mean, but, along with that, I mean, I've seen a ghost, what people would describe as a ghost once, which was pretty freaky. And
how about that picture of Jim Morrison at the gravesite? Holy shit, that still freaks me out, brother.
Yeah. Weird stuff in the world.
The unexplained, man. Where's Robert's fucking stack when you need him? What's the music scene like in Texas? Like you said, you've traveled all over the world. Have you ever been to Canada before?
In Ghoultown, we've played there once in connection with a horror convention that Ringwood Magazine put on. So we played in Ontario once, but we haven't done a proper tour of Canada. Unfortunately, I mean, being from Texas, we're so isolated and way down here that things like that are just hard for an independent band. With 6 members, it's costly, so the touring is limited, oftentimes just by economics and things. But
of course,
we love to do Canada.
When it's all coming out of your pocket, and you have to put the tour together, you have to make sure you have enough merch, enough supplies, and you're depending on hoping that you don't have to sleep in your van. I know all about that. I could write a book myself, the do's and don'ts of the road.
Yeah.
So, where are you touring next? I understand you're working on the new album. You got a lot of TV projects and stuff going on. Is there any tours going on for Ghoultown right now?
Well, we'll spend the next, probably 5 months trying to get the album done. So we just hit a few places like Louisiana and some usual dates in Texas during October, which we usually do short stretches there. Beyond that, really in support of this new album, we're trying to get out there and do something more extensive, at least in the States. We haven't done in a while, so that would just kind of follow sometime, hopefully next summer, and I have no idea where, but as much as we could do. And the invitation is sort of always there to do Europe, and we have a really good fan base there. But and we have toured Europe, once, and then we did some stuff in the UK. So that's another mountain to conquer, is to get over there. But so hopefully next year, following the album, we can delve more into some more touring.
All right, on, man. Well, we hope we can get you down here to Canada and Alberta. We'd love to meet you. Well, Mr. Blackburn, it has been an absolute pleasure having you today on the Pantheon. Ghoultown, keep making great music, keep kicking ass. Horns high!
We will do that. We appreciate you. Your support.